Hey, Angie.
Hey there, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, hanging in there.
Where are you this time? Last time you were in Flagstaff, I think. When I saw
Yep, I'm currently in Las Vegas. It's been interesting here so far.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm looking forward to I've got an event at the end of the month
All right.
and it's gonna be my first in-person event. So I'm super excited. Fingers crossed it all
Yeah.
goes well.
Is that the digging in the dirt part of that event you're talking about? That's awesome.
Yep, that's the one. Where are you at?
I'm in San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, awesome. How long are you there?
Yeah. We've been here since 2003.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. I thought I remembered that you were travel because that looks RV-ish, your
Yeah,
background.
well, this is sailboat. We also have
Mm,
RV, so we're trying to figure out, okay, what's the master plan of the nomad, kind of like, yeah, like you're doing, but
awesome.
more RV, hit the road, national parks, Wi-Fi, that kind of thing.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's definitely fun. It's interesting too, because like this, I would say in 18 months on the road, this has been my first like bad neighbor experience,
Oh no. Okay. Mm,
which I'm pretty easygoing as a neighbor too, but
that sucks.
well, I get writer's revenge. She gets a mention in my book,
Oh.
and I get to paint her however I want to.
Yes, anonymized or not.
Mhm. So
Oh,
awesome. Looks like it's you and me today. I forgot to announce in the group that I was like give a reminder that I was doing this. So,
oh
oh,
yeah.
there's Porek.
Oh good, we're
Awesome.
getting some more peeps.
So what's going on? How can I help?
Yeah, I was on accelerator call yesterday. Park was on there too.
Awesome.
There's his face. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing
Good, good.
good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
And is it Porek?
Spot on, yeah. That was
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
perfect.
I wanted to make sure because like Kevin explained it to me in the background how to like one to one how to pronounce it, but I also like sometimes he gets it wrong and I love him. So I want to make sure.
Yeah, it was spot on, and it doesn't happen too often, so thank you.
Winning. I'll
The
have to I'll have to
Americans don't know what to do. Yeah.
I'll have to thank him for it later.
Yeah. Yeah, good to meet you anyway, Angie. I don't think we've ever met virtually before, so
No, not yet, but it's awesome. So I'm kind of like chaotic neutral coach. I don't really have a structure to any of my calls. We talk about whatever comes up. Odds are I'm going to find at least two or three things to get nice and ranty about at some points. But basically, the floor is yours. If you've got a question, jump in and ask it. I will answer to the best of my ability. If you want to answer somebody else's question, also fine. Like we're just here to talk. So who wants to go
awesome.
first?
Mary can go first.
Oh,
She usually going
this
first.
will be be a repeat of the accelerator call yesterday.
Awesome.
So my question's about preparing to make the switch to freelancing full time.
Ooh,
So on the hot seat yesterday, I asked Kevin, I said, well, I just started writing part-time for Moxie copywriting, just like maybe 15 hours a week. So
congrats.
yeah, so there's a baseline. And I made a commitment to myself to give up my 9 to 5 job July 1st. So I have 1 quarter, 3 months to gear up. But in that time, I just have the Moxie thing and the full-time thing. So I don't have a lot of bandwidth until all of a sudden I'll have a whole lot of bandwidth. So he suggested I carve out some time to really kind of think and write to help me specialize. So I'll feel a little bit prepared, or just decide I'm going to specialize in some package, something.
Mhm.
So I'll be a little bit more prepared when I get there and I go, okay, I'll have all this time now, instead of panicking and going, oh, I need to find work, now.
Mhm. Well, I have some thoughts on that, and I've been through the exact same thing myself. And I
Yeah.
want to tell you, I want to celebrate first of all that giving yourself a public accountability date. Fantastic. That is the only reason that I wound up quitting my old toxic job. And it was a good thing too. Like I told the entire copy chief community back when the progress journals were like public to all members.
Okay.
It was like December 16th, 2016. That's my final day. Y'all hold me to it. And then people would message me every couple weeks. How's the
How
plan
it goes.
going? Yep. How's the
That's
plan
great.
going? Where are you at?
Yeah.
Anything that I can do to help? And so it was a good thing too that I held my own feet to the fire with the help of my friends, because 4 months after I left the job, my entire creative department was laid off.
Oh, wow.
And I just happened to be taking a temporary contract in the office to cover for Alex Penning, actually, another
Oh,
copywriter
okay.
in the community,
Yeah, yeah.
who's also my best friend of 20 years. I was covering for
Oh, man.
Alex while they were out on vacation and was there when the entire team got like, I got fired from a job I didn't have. That is like
Excellent.
the most awkward situation I've ever been in. So
How weird
like,
is that?
yeah,
You're like, by the way, I'm already gone. You remember that
Yeah.
part? Yeah.
it was still weird, and there was still a lot of grieving, and we definitely, like, the whole team spent the afternoon day drinking to recover from that. I don't know if you remember Orchard Supply Hardware, since you're in the Bay Area,
What is it?
but Orchard Supply Hardware,
Yes, yes, yes.
that was where Alex and I used to work as in-house copywriters. And
Oh,
now
wow.
that company no longer exists. The
I didn't
products
even
of its
really
own,
realize that. I remember, yeah, there's one over in Emeryville. Yeah, there was.
Mhm. They were all shut down 18 months after I left.
That was it.
100
wow.
store chain
Oh, I
gone.
totally missed that. I guess
Mhm.
that was, yeah, Trump era and all that stuff. Okay. I stopped watching the news at that point. So,
Yeah, totally get that. So I mean, I say all of that to say, like, I'm very familiar with this, and I know the stress that comes along with this. I know you're in the Bay Area too, so I'm gonna get a little bit personal. What does your savings situation look like?
yeah, I've got a pretty good chunk of savings. I'm kind of benchmarking. I could live for probably 6 months if I had
Okay,
to with no income, but
perfect.
I was like,
Then
okay, I'd like to do it in less than that, maybe like a 3-month grace period of ramping.
yeah, then I would say, the next 3 months between now and when you get out is about banking as much as possible
Yeah.
to make sure that you're giving yourself as long a runway as you can. You know that you're not starting at zero since you've already got that contract for 15 hours a week. So that's fine.
Yeah.
I think you've got a little bit more peace of mind and runway than it might feel like, because this is such a big change.
Yeah.
But I think I had time before I quit to take on like 2 $5,000 projects
Mhm.
and like put all of that money into savings before I was like, I got to go. This place is killing me.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't have like any savings and a lot of credit card and student loan debt. So that was not a very long runway.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, not in the Bay Area where I lived when I quit as well. So you've got a living situation, you've got a runway with your savings, you've got a gig lined up. I think you're in a fantastic position, basically.
Oh, that's great to hear.
And honestly, it usually takes people starting from ground zero, probably about 3 to 6 months to find their footing. And you're not starting from ground zero. You've already got a contract.
Okay.
So, and you've got a network,
Yeah,
because we
true.
can connect you to people that are looking to.
Mhm.
That always surprises newer copywriters that I work with, that I'm like, no, I don't want to write. Here, have this job. Somebody,
Right. You're like, what? You're giving it away?
people are still reaching out. They find out that I quit Jeff Walker's role back in 2020, and they're like, you're available for copywriting. No, I'm not. That's why I quit
Nope.
Jeff's team. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I would still be with Jeff's team.
Right.
So-
Right.
So yeah, people, given my background and my experience and my connections, people come to me for copy all the time. So, this is why I think Rachel is so adamant about everybody update your availability and your portfolio and what you're looking for, because if we know, then when we hear it, we think about you.
Okay. Well,
So cool. Yeah. I would say the writing that Kevin, like the brainstorming, try not to make it like another thing that adds to the to-do list and the stress, because I can sense that stress just kind of wanting a thing to focus on and
yeah,
a reason
I was
to
doing
bubble
that
to
to
the
myself
surface.
yesterday. I'm like, stop it. This is supposed to be a good thing.
Mhm. It's a good thing, and you're in a wonderful position, and I think you're going to learn a lot once you've got the space. And I think I remember reading in your journal too that you've got a toxic work environment as well, right?
Yeah, I just had my team meeting and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it's falling apart kind of. Well, maybe not like your whole company shutting down, but things are just breaking down. It's like,
Oh no, I totally get it. And this is why I'm a big fan of like trusting your instincts. I really wish that I had trusted my instincts at Orchard, but I was also in an abusive romantic relationship at the time.
Oh.
So it's just like taking abuse from all sides. But we
Yeah,
used to
I get-
have people that would come into our cubes and literally scream at us in
Oh,
front of
wow.
everybody in the audience. I had a VP at one meeting say this company was better before we hired copywriters. And at the time, Guess who was the only copywriter on staff? It was very clear who she was making her remark at. So like, I tell people, if there's a toxic work environment involved, like just know they're gonna do themselves in eventually, because they're making decisions not for the good of anybody, but for their own freaking ego, and that is very short-sighted at best. So
people get angry and spiteful and all that stuff comes up. Yeah.
Oh, I had people try to sabotage projects of mine because they weren't the one to come up with the idea and they couldn't let anybody else shine. Like, totally been there in those environments. And I'm here to tell you that there are lots and lots of companies who see that and go, what is wrong with you? Why don't you treat your people with respect? So there is life after abusive corporate toxic culture. Yes.
Wow. That perspective is really helpful. Thank you.
I was very fortunate that I went from Orchard to Jeff's team. And like, Jeff spends a lot in bringing in team facilitators, doing development retreats, helping people talk and communicate better. So I would say,
super organized too, right?
It's kind of chaos over there, but that's the launch world in general. But he genuinely cares about the staff. And I would say like the first 9 months was me learning how to not assume that everything meant I was going to be fired.
Right. Because you're like, am I doing okay? Like,
I haven't heard anything. He said, but he said one of the best things that I have ever heard, and I appreciated it just because of who he is, that he took the time to do this. Like, when my 90-day trial came up and I hadn't heard anything, I was actually in the process of splitting with my ex and moving across the country. So like, pressure central. I'm desperately hoping I didn't blow this, big name gig. And so I just left a note hoping that the nerves weren't coming through, like, hey, 90 days is coming up, wondering if we should set up a call, what's going on. And when I didn't hear anything back, I think I posted it in another place, and 10 minutes later he called me, which I never got over the panic of seeing Jeff's name pop up on my cell phone. I always thought I was doing something wrong, even though it was always positive. He was like, how did he say it? He goes,
don't worry.
Hey, I'm sorry that we haven't been better about keeping in touch with you. Like, usually if it's not going to work out, I know way sooner than 90 days, but I still should have told you that like you were doing well and you're exceeding all the expectation. It's fine. He goes, I get the sense that you are a worrier and you think through these things. You're a little bit anxious. I don't want you to be in that space because it's very hard to create from a space of anxiety and worry.
Yeah.
If you need something to worry about being different from everything else they see in their inbox. But that's really all I want you to worry about. Your position is safe.
Wow.
And so that's what I try and tell all the writers. I'm like, there are clients out there like that. There are even big name clients out there like that. You can't create from a place of anxiety and worry. So do your best to manage the mindset. I say this being a super anxious person myself.
Yeah. Right. They get it. That's if you want creative people, they can't have that. It's not gonna wring blood out. What is it? Blood out of a turnip or whatever. Yeah.
So is any of this helping? I know I'm kind of ranting.
It's very helpful. Yeah, I wanted to ask you one kind of follow-on thing about. I'm in Accelerator now, and I'm kind of month to month. And I was thinking maybe I can do some kind of a thing where I can rejoin Accelerator when I finally start implementing. At this point, I'm kind of in this holding pattern until I hit that date. And I thought, well, how about this fall? I just maybe join Copy Chief generally, and then re-up at that point when I have some real world things that I'm going to need some coaching on. And timing. I thought maybe is Lolita maybe the person to reach out to about.
Yeah, probably Lolita. She might loop in Rachel or Kevin because obviously they're going to want to check in as well. They might also ask, you're not in my group. Are you in Melanie's?
I'm in Amanda's.
Amanda's? Okay. So they might ask, if you schedule a call with Amanda. Because I know I had somebody that had to put theirs on pause for a while too. And so like, this isn't, Kev has not been settled. You're not banished for life as soon as you cancel or unsubscribe. We consider this to be a family, and sometimes family needs a break. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like when is it going to be most useful to me, and then maybe save that money for that time, like kind of a thing. But I have I'll join Amanda's call next week, I think, before she goes and gets hitched, I think, right? And then just check in with her. The quarterly check-in is coming up anyway, so.
Yeah, and if you want to reach out to her and ask for a one-on-one call, I'm sure
Okay.
she would be willing to do that. I mean, and if she goes, no, Angie, what were you thinking? I'll have a one-on-one call with you. It's fine.
Okay.
I get these decisions. It feels like a lot of pressure, and I know that there's a lot of money on the line and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
And my main concern is you and your success and you getting the support you need.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like, whether that's continued accelerator membership or if that's copy chief membership or you take a break and come back.
Hmm.
Like, I am Team
Okay.
Mary.
Okay. Yay.
And I
Thank you.
don't get a salary bump or anything if
Yeah.
people renew. So like there's nothing in
Retention.
it.
Yeah. So
There's nothing in it for me to like try and persuade you to stay. And I would never do anything that I feel, and I think Kevin feels this way too. This is why I originally joined RFL. It's like, if I feel like I'm taking money away from rent or food out of your mouth, I don't want your money.
Yeah. Right. Right. I get that. That's definitely the whole feeling from the whole group. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
great. I mean, the coaching's great. It's just like, I need to do some stuff here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, in theory, that sounds great, but it's like, oh, some doing needs to happen before.
Yeah. And that's the key, right? Like, I think I said that in one of, like, so I work with Chris Orzakowski. I said that in one of his
Yeah.
coaching programs. And one of the students was like, Angie and Chris, you guys are great coaches. And I was like, we could teach until our eyeballs bleed, but you have to take action on it. That's really the magic right there. It's like, so thanks for giving us credit, but you were really the one that like hit the ground running there.
Ran with it. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There's never any judgment in taking care of yourself. And I'm especially a big fan of telling women like you do what you need to do to take care of you and you don't feel guilt about anybody else.
Yeah. And trust those instincts, right?
Mm-hmm. Because the right people will always be there when you need them. It's just, that's how good people work. Awesome. Saporic, you got anything?
Yeah, I do actually. So I don't know if you like know kind of my situation, but I was kind of like you, Mary, last year in terms of I set myself a date and I ended up sticking to it. So I've been kind of full time since January. So kind of the situation I have been in is I started like the first copy gig I picked up was about a year ago now, and it was with Ross O'Loughlin. I think you probably know Ross, Angie, do you?
Oh yeah. He's a good
So,
buddy of mine. We jumped off a mountain together in Colombia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I knew he'd done a lot of traveling, but I didn't realize he was like doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, it was in 2018 before, the world went nuts. But a group of us all decided to go down to Colombia and we rented like an Airbnb penthouse and all stayed together in the same place and worked during the day and explored on nights and weekends. And it was a lot of fun.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, so Ross and I connected and we've been doing work together ever since, which has been brilliant. And Ross has been kind of chiefing my work. It was kind of smaller projects in the beginning, all email pretty much. And email has kind of been my area of focus as well. And yeah, so like most of my work has been through him really up until this point. And I had one kind of retainer with one of his clients doing nurture emails that came to an end recently. He just kind of decided he didn't want to invest in doing nurturing for a while for whatever reason. And I kind of, for the first time, I had to seriously go, okay, I look at what I was doing and I realized I really wasn't kind of putting enough time into outreach. And just, I had been kind of using the excuse that I had that regular work not to do it, I guess, really. So yeah, my pipeline kind of has dried up a bit. It had, and then with the last few weeks, I've kind of been a lot better about my outreach process, been doing a lot more and have had more calls lined up. So yeah, basically the kind of question I have is just kind of more about one of them. So I have 3 calls lined up at the moment. One is actually another referral from Ross, which is brilliant. And yeah, we just actually discussed that today. So I'm just kind of processing what the next steps for that one will be. But another one is Yeah, so basically what it is it's a copywriter job, but it's for a company who does they do B2B sales outreach. So they kind of work with tech companies and they do cold outreach on their behalf, really kind of personalized cold emails. It said full time on that, but it looked interesting. So I said I just kind of stick in an application, and I've been kind of moved through the rounds there. But the information I've got is that it's a full-time role, and I think, having learned a bit more about the role, that I just don't think I would be able to do it full time, in the sense that it's a very limited scope of work. Basically, all it is writing leads for emails, and even at that, it's really just 2 sentences, like 40 to 50 words, and that is the job. Kind of on a full-time basis. So I've gone kind of through the stages of that. I haven't been offered the job yet, but you know, it seems to be going pretty good. So my kind of feeling on it, having thought about it, is I just don't think it would be varied enough for me to do it 40 hours a week. Plus the kind of just in terms of doing the sums and stuff, the money isn't really there in terms of what the deal is. With that said, I wouldn't be opposed to kind of integrating a little bit of it in if they were open to some type of contractor arrangement, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, because it is interesting, but it's just very limited in terms of what it is. So yeah, I've just kind of been thinking about it there the last 2 days. I kind of finished the next phase of the application, so kind of at the point now where I need to kind of go back to them and tell them, you know, how I'm feeling, whatever way that is. And what I was thinking about doing was kind of saying that, look, I'm interested in the company. I think you guys are doing good things, but I don't really have the bandwidth for that type of arrangement right now. However, if you were open to kind of a contractor freelancer type arrangement, I probably have, or I could give you maybe 16 hours a week at the moment, is what I'm thinking I could probably give to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just haven't really had that type of conversation before, where I've gone, you know, tried to turn a full-time job into that type of conversation. So
Mm.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean this is all good problems to have, right? Um, I I would say so. For my first question is, have you got a sense of how tied to hours they are? Because you mentioned like
Uh,
40 hours, 16 hours. Like for Jeff's team, I was technically contracted for 30 hours a week as full time, and there were some weeks where maybe I did 5 hours worth of work that week. Of course, there were launch and event weeks where maybe I did like 120.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like I billed them for 30 hours a week every week, and I never bothered to track that. Um, I just showed up and did the work that was asked of me, and there you go.
Yeah.
So some people are tied to hours because that's really the only unit that they have to measure. But I also know people that are working full-time copy jobs. Melanie comes to mind, where that takes up maybe 10, 15 hours of her time, and then the rest of the time she has to try and convince herself to not feel guilty and not ask
Yeah.
for more work. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm fulfilling the role that they hired me for. They are extremely happy with the work that I've done, and I get to spend the rest of my time learning and pursuing what's interesting to me. So there's a little bit of that. Do you know anything about, kind of the hours, and are they trackers? And
Yeah, it seems more like kind of a traditional job model, which is kind of the 40 hours a week from what I've understood so far. I was told kind of during the application process, the expectation is to do like 5 of these outreaches, which is what the job is per hour, basically. Doesn't take long to do what they're asking. It's just basically scan the LinkedIn profile, pick out a couple of personalized points, and then link that to the offer. Um, but yeah, that is kind of the expectation. So I guess 8 hours a day, 5 of those an hour is the thing. I don't know if there would ever be a situation where it is as you described. It could possibly be that type of arrangement, but what I do know is that So this company, like it's a remote role. They're actually coincidentally based in Ireland, where I'm based, and they told me if I was to take it on, being in Ireland, that it would be like essentially an employee salary role. So they'd pay me a salary rather than as a freelancer. So yeah, all that to say, I guess I think it's probably like a full-time arrangement where I would be working the full 40 hours a week, but I'm not certain.
Okay. Well, then that's good data too, right? When I think a lot of the anxiety comes from when we're trying to figure out what a deal structure looks like, not having enough information, like we're missing something, we're making an assumption somewhere and we don't really know. So this is one of those situations where I think it is perfect to say, hey, like I'm really excited about this role. I love what you're telling me so far. I have a question about the hours. So notice that that's a slight tweak on your approach. Your approach was like, I can't do full time. Here's what I can do. I'm a little bit booked. I think there's a lot of skepticism from the hiring standpoint because there are a lot of shitty new writers out there. Not that you're one of those, but that are using this like false scarcity thing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I go, well, that's not what the role is, and sorry, I can't. You know, maybe next time, maybe when there's a future role that's like part-time, I could bring you on board. Stay tuned. And then suddenly they're backpedaling like, oh, I got some space. Really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
It's not like I've been in the game for over a decade and I know what these tricks are like. So
Yeah.
I think if you show what the business case is, lead with your interest in them and how you can help them, and say, hey, I know you expressed interest in having this be full-time, 40 hours a week. I'm wondering if there's some flexibility here because I would love to do this role. I don't think I can commit 40 hours a week right now, but if we tried like 90 days at this as a trial run, we could see if it's a fit. If not, if you're absolutely married to full-time, totally get it. I'm probably not the best candidate this time, but I just wanted to see if there was any flexibility right there. Because a hirer will tell you, and you don't really have to be more tricky or crafty than that, just like asking them if there's an opportunity. Because if they're looking for full-time and their hands are tied and all they can do is full-time, then you're not wasting each other's time anymore. And they'll respect you that much more for not like getting all the way to the offer letter and then you going, by the way, I can't do full-time. And then they're like, I went to bat for you, man. Like I had to argue with legal. I had to get contracts taken care of. Like, I don't think a lot of freelancers take the time to think about what it's costing on the hiring side for me to bring you on board. And so if you can come to it from that like place of understanding, I want to be respectful of your time. I also wanted to tell you that I'm really excited about this role. Here's where I'm running into a problem. Is there any flexibility? I'm open to trying this for a temporary, like 60 to 90 days and seeing if that works for both of us. And of course, if it doesn't, we part ways as friends, that's fine. If there's no flexibility at all, totally get it. Would love to be considered if there is a flexible role that opens up in the future. Your friend, Porrick. Those are the people that stand out to me when they write to me like that.
Yep. Okay, awesome. That's really helpful.
Yeah. So I think all of those conversations are always worth having, and then they're worth having directly and just from a place of empathy and understanding. If you can always just kind of trick, I don't even want to say trick, like focus your mind on them, like always couch your concerns in what's beneficial to them, then they're going to be much more open to working with you. Because there are a lot of folks I can tell you from a hiring perspective that come on board, and this is a true story from when I replaced myself on Jeff's team. We had a guy who had an excellent resume. He did an excellent test. We invited him to interview, and that's where he shot himself in the freaking foot. Because within the first 2 minutes of interviewing with me, the outgoing chief, and Candace, the incoming chief, he's basically like, yeah, I plan to work for Jeff for a couple years and like learn what he's doing from the inside out and then go start my own business. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
So let me be clear in case the job listing, which I wrote, by the way, this wasn't written by HR. I wrote the job listing and I'm well aware of what the team needs here. We need a team player who's here to grow Jeff's business, who wants to work with Jeff who plans to be on the team for several years because they really want this to be like a growth role. And they want to bring people on that want to be with the team for a while. So you're already telling me you have an exit date, and that not only you have an exit date, but you want to take all of Jeff's business knowledge and apply it to your own feelings. Like, I know that that is in the back of your mind, a smart thing to do, but why would you tell me about this on an interview?
Yep.
And he, like, when we let him down gently, I think the very next day we were like, it's not a good fit at this time, but appreciate all of the effort that you've gone through in the application process. He spent the next 2 days like intermittently trying to re-engage and argue his case. Like, I think y'all misunderstood me. I'm definitely a team player. Like, just because I'm interested in my own business doesn't mean I'm not interested in the team. I'm like, yeah, but the focus was all off there. If you want to work with Jeff Walker, it's Jeff Walker. You want to work with Jeff Walker. You don't go up to Tony Robbins and be like, I'd like to learn everything about personal power and then go start my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the hiring challenges are real, and it really doesn't take much to stand out from the pack. And like that script that I gave you about seeing if there's any flexibility is actually one of the ways to stand out, because you can articulate what you need like a human being and understand where they're coming from.
Yep.
You would be shocked how many people cannot do that.
Yeah.
Like, my friends give me, they laugh a lot because they'll see me pop into the copywriter club on Facebook every once in a while and deal with what I like to jokingly call the pitchfork mob. And the pitchfork mob comes out whenever a payment is late, whenever a client obsesses over an Oxford comma. Like, they come out and love to talk about how all clients are shitty. I'm like, or you're shitty at communication.
Yeah.
That's one option too. Like, you assume that you're a great writer and that means you're a great communicator. No, that's not necessarily the case. So yeah, and it's, I mean, I don't say all this because I am like the wizard or genius of community. I've learned all of this the hardest possible way. So I give this advice freely in hopes that you will avoid my miscommunication, mistakes, and assumptions.
Yep. No, I hear you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super helpful. I was kind of like, so for this last round, it's kind of like test assignment. So I was thinking along the lines of, not as good as what you said there, but I was thinking of trying to articulate something like that, and also do the assignment before I do, just to kind of show them, look, I legitimately am interested. This is what I can do. And again, no hard feelings if this is just a hard stop for you right now. But
yeah, absolutely. If that's not going to cause like a problem or a timing or like a scheduling challenge for you personally to go ahead and do the test, I would go ahead and do the test, because I think that just throws extra weight behind what you're saying. Like, I just wanted to show you I can do this job. I think my skills are exactly what you need. I did the test. Just wanted to show you what I can do. Like, that kind of give first mentality, I think, really goes a long way. And even if they can't make this work, like I said, the hire is much more likely to remember you because you were upfront, you were personable, you were approachable, you didn't try to guilt them into anything. And then if something temporary does come up, or they experience some rapid growth and they need some overflow, then they know the first person that they're going to reach out to. Like, I run Chris Orzakowski's copy team, and I've got a couple of back pocket writers like that. Like, if we ever experience a moment where all of my writers are overloaded and they can't handle what's coming in, I know some people that I could go to that I'm relatively confident between me and Chris, they come on board, they're going to knock it out of the park. Like,
yep. Awesome. Thanks so much.
yeah,
I just had one follow up. I'm not sure if we have time.
go for it. Yeah, we still got like 20 math, more than 20 minutes.
Okay. Brilliant. Yeah, so like a couple of so one of the gigs I've been doing up until now have mainly been like nurture emails and or autoresponder campaigns, and they're all kind of B2C, I guess, that type of services. Two of these calls that happened I didn't really look for them. They just happened to be kind of interesting opportunities that came across the desk. They're like cold email opportunities, which are still interesting to me. But I have kind of had the thought in the back of my head, you know, if I like was to kind of go and jump into the cold email stuff and learn about it, even though it's interesting, it's kind of not as much what I am interested in. It's more the stuff I've been doing that I really enjoy, and I don't really necessarily want to, you know, get known as the guy that is good at like B2B sales, cold outreach and stuff. So I've just been kind of second guessing that a little bit because I am interested in these gigs, and I'm still new enough that I'm dipping my feet in different waters and stuff. But I also kind of know, like, when you're building your portfolio, it's easier to make your case to get new gigs for stuff that you have done before and stuff. And I'm just a bit concerned that I'll kind of, you know, get stuck in doing that and then won't like it, I guess. Or
I hear you, and there's a couple of different forces at work here. One, I think, is the newness, and two, I think, is a little bit of pigeonholing fears, which can happen. But I'm going to circle back to that in a second. So when you're newer, I think it's important to get as much paid experience as you can, because you can always undo a decision that has been made. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy, but you can undo decisions. So like, I decided to join this team, and after a few months, I decided I don't like this work. This is not for me. You can tell them, you know, I coached another now former accelerator member, but like you took the gig and you were really excited about it and you did your best. And when you got to do the job, it was an energy drain instead of an energy add. It is totally, of course they're going to be disappointed because they hoped that it would work. You hoped that it would work too, and you're disappointed just as much as them. So it's totally cool to go to them and say, hey, you know, we've been doing this for X amount of time. I've had a chance to think about the work and how it energizes me and it excites me. I don't know that it's the fit that I thought it was going to be. Nobody's more disappointed about this than me. I had really hoped that it would work out, but I think I'm going to need to step back. Here's my exit timeline. Here's what I'm willing to help you with. Blah, blah. Yeah. And so I've helped writers like negotiate a like part-time overflow contract from something like that, where the company has already invested in training you a little bit, and they'd rather keep you on it part-time than lose you completely. You know what I mean? The other thing is being pigeonholed, like I mentioned. So like, any decision can be undone. It's worth it to pursue it and get paid and find out if you like it versus worrying about whether you're going to like it. You know what I mean? Like, get the data if you're unsure. Say yes to money, says me, as long as it doesn't cost you your soul. Then the second thing is being pigeonholed. As the former copy chief for Jeff Walker and the queen of all things launch, I totally understand this. Because like I said, as soon as I left Jeff's team, people started reaching out to me. Oh, I've got a launch. Ooh, can you help me with my copy? And I'm like, it took me about 9 months of repeating to people, no, I left Jeff's team because I'm burnt out on writing copy. No, I don't write copy for anybody but me. I'm a member of several copywriting communities that can help you find a good writer. I'm not going to write for you. And it's just boundary holding and knowing to say no is how you overcome being pigeonholed like that. So even if you experiment with cold emails for a little while and you become known as the cold email guy, you might see that your attitude changes. Like, what you're afraid of now, you discover you actually love cold emails. You want to be the cold email guy. I want to go speak on stage about being the cold email guy. Your attitude might change once you get into it. If it doesn't, you don't have to be the cold email guy. Like, here's what I learned from being a cold email guy and how it applies to your nurture emails. Here's what I learned from being a cold email guy and how it applies to your XYZ. Like, you can deliberately change that story and herd people toward the new direction that you want to try, just by being able to draw those parallels between the skills that you developed here and how they apply there. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's super helpful, actually. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling it was kind of just more, you know, fear, kind of head trash type stuff. Kind of knew it was really, but
we all get that. And
like,
it's easy to spiral on it too, especially when you're missing information. So like right now, the information you're missing is, what is it like to work as a cold email guy.
Yeah.
And the other information that you're missing is like, okay, if I'm really good at this, am I going to like it or am I not going to like it?
Yeah.
Those are all things that you can't possibly know until you've actually taken the action.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I like that point. It's like you could be good at it, but you might not like it.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean you want to do it. Like,
And you could be good at it and then discover that you really do actually like it. Like,
Right.
I'm really good at launches. And
Yeah,
with
sure.
ethical companies like Jeff's, I could
Yeah.
be your biggest hype person. I just don't want to anymore. And like that piece of my soul comes through in the writing. That's ultimately why I left Orchard too. I talk about being an impetuous young copywriter. Like, I took meetings with the presidents, all three of them that were there throughout the course of the company.
Wow.
Lowly copywriter was like, president of the company, I would like to meet with you personally and tell you what I see from the trenches. Here's how
Yeah.
we can make this company better. And
It's
so
the message, right? You're writing the message. Wouldn't it be good to know?
the last president before I left, she called me in and she was like, so I got word that you're quitting. I'm concerned. What's happening here? And I told her,
Too late.
so do you remember, like, I've brought to your attention that there's a little bit of toxicity coming here. There's trouble getting ideas through here. Like, here's the good stuff, but here's the bad stuff. And I'm really struggling with this company. And she goes, yeah, but why are you quitting? And I said, because I don't believe it anymore. And if I don't believe it, I can't sell it. I can't. So, like, I don't believe neighbors helping neighbors. I don't believe that this company cares about its customers. I see the infighting here at the office every day and how people stab each other in the back. I don't believe, and I can't sell. And so, I don't know, like, there are definitely copywriters that can sell anything if the price is right. I'm not one of them. It's like pulling teeth. If I don't, my heart has to be behind the thing that I'm selling. Otherwise, I won't. So, and I think that's a perfectly fair way to do business. I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do it. People actually respect you more when you're like, no, this is not a good fit. I'm not going to do it. I had to, this was a painful one. So right after I had an unexpected breakup. So I don't know if you know that story, Porrick, but that was like October of 2020, which is what led me to life on the road. We were getting ready to buy a house. We were talking about next steps in our relationship. And 6 days after I turned in my notice with Jeff's job, he sat up after an episode of the Great British Baking Show and said, I don't love you the way that you love me. And I'm going to move into the new house, which he had bought behind my back. And the next day he started moving out. And so when I started examining my options, they were like, go back to Jeff, continue with the plan to become a coach and a podcast host. Stay here, go to mom and dad's, buy my own place. Like, here are all the options. I opted to stick with the plan to leave Jeff's because it was time. I was just burnt out and I wasn't going to go down that path of like continuing to half-ass as I got less and less interested. And then eventually they fired me because the work is bad. Let's just leave on a high note before we all hate each other. Then I got introduced, I can't even remember who it was, to this guy. It was a $10,000 a month consulting contract to help run his copy team. And I was like, yeah, okay. I feel like, of course, I feel like crap because I just got dumped, but I'm feeling like I can actually support myself and make this transition smoothly, especially with this contract. One of the very first things I said to him in the interview was, I believe in what I sell. If I have an ethical challenge in what I'm selling, I cannot sell it. So like 3 months in, this agency owner and I had been butting heads. It's not Chris. Chris and I have been working together for a long time, but this agency owner and I are butting heads. And then he throws just like the cherry on top. He brings in this client that is basically a data aggregator. One of those ones that like you get on all the spam lists and you look yourself up and they have a scary amounts of information about you, all of your former partners, everybody in your family, everywhere you've ever worked, everywhere you've ever lived. So he gives me all this data and I tell him, I'm very uncomfortable.
Where'd this come from?
Or like he gives me a login to like try this thing out. And I was like, let's call a spade a spade. This is going to be used for stalking. And he's like, oh no, like if you're going out on a date, like you're a single lady, if you're going out on a date, you can check him out. or stalk him instead of actually getting to know him. Well, you can look out for your family and see what's available for them online. Or I could hire a service like Delete Me and get their information offline and not let people stalk them. So like, I can't be involved in this because I am a domestic violence survivor. And I believe very much about like preventing victimization of people with tools like this. I can't be involved. And he kept pushing me and trying to make me feel comfortable with something that I was very uncomfortable with. And I think even he went to, okay, so I understand that you can't be involved. Totally respect that. What if I had a junior writer write it and then you critique their work? That's being involved.
No.
And I totally respect this, bro. Like if you believe in the product and you've got a good relationship with the product owner, who am I to tell you that you can't take this on? All I can tell you is that I can't be involved in it. Somebody else on the team is going to have to take this one. And so when the end of our 90 days came up, I was just like, I'm looking at all this data. We disagree fundamentally on what a growth strategy looks like. He wants to throw all of his money behind Facebook ads and cold traffic. And I'm like, you've got an email list right here that you're ignoring, that you're doing who knows what strategy with. Like, let's get some money coming in here and then we'll have even more money to throw into the cold traffic. Like, had that, would have these meetings where I thought we decided what was being done, but as soon as we split up, everybody went off on their own and created their own to-do list that had nothing to do with what we decided as a team. And then this like crossing the ethical line, I was like,
That's it.
I took, I think 10 attempts at recording a goodbye video. The first one was very much like, here are all the things that you've done to piss me off and why this is not going to work. And it was like 15 minutes of ranting. I think by the last attempt, I got it down to 2 solid minutes of like, hey man, we're coming up on the end of our 90 days. And it's been an interesting journey. I've really loved getting to know you and the team. Don't think it's going to be a good fit long-term. So I'm going to propose at the end of our 90 days that we just go our separate ways as friends. As always, I'm going to be in your corner rooting for you. Not like going, I don't agree with how you're running your business, but whatever. It's not my business to run. I don't care. All I can say is this doesn't work for me, and walk away without blowing up the bridge behind me. Because as cool as it would be to have something explode behind me while I walk forward in slow motion with my sunglasses on, never works that way in reality.
Right. You go high while they dissolve. Right.
I always go high, and in any instance where I feel like my personal integrity would be on the line, I will err on being like way too cautious. Kevin has given me a lot of shit over the years, because like back when I used to help with more like day-to-day team management before he found Rachel, there were times where, and when he was still doing affiliate promos, that Jeff and Kevin would be promoting the same thing and therefore in competition. And so when we would get to that part of the team meeting where they're talking about affiliate promo strategy, I'd be like, I need to recuse myself. And Kevin once joked with me, was like, are you kidding me? Like, your list is going to trounce ours. You've got like, there's no way I'm competing with Jeff Walker. And I was like, I don't even want a semblance, any remote possibility of Jeff thinking I'm borrowing from you. You think I'm borrowing from Jeff. Like, no, I need to recuse myself. And we'll talk about this later. And who knows, maybe Kevin will beat Jeff's list.
Could happen.
Yeah. So yeah. There you go. We've had several soapbox moments, so promise delivered there.
Yeah. I really appreciate you talking about really feeling good about who you're writing for. You can choose. You can choose to decline or accept based on that.
Absolutely. And if you like to tie into what you were saying, Porrick, if you find a way to make prospecting and meeting potential clients part of your routine, then you've got the wonderful next problem that also feels truly uncomfortable of having too much work and too much opportunity and having to say no to things. But that's actually a power position, because you get to say no to things that you're not as interested in. You get to negotiate higher rates on stuff that you're actually interested in. And you get to pass off work to people that need it and are looking for it, which makes you look like a well-connected, in-demand person. Right? So like all of this is win-win-win when you stack yourself with way too much opportunity, more than you could ever handle. And you're going out there and trying to meet people. It's a good situation.
Yeah. I was just kind of on that thread. I think I just Most people probably do, but I definitely tend to think a few steps too far ahead sometimes. And one of them with me was like with the emails and stuff. There was just something about financial that I didn't really want to know anything about it, because for some reason in my head I just thought it was all like really unethical stuff. I don't really know why, but I just assumed that it was kind of, I read the End of America promotion and that didn't happen. So then I was like, oh, well. But anyways, I was at the St. Pete meetup the week before last, and I connected with Bradley Schnitzer, I think, who's also an accelerator. And Bradley does mainly financial stuff. So I had a good chat with him, like about his clients and the products that he writes for and stuff. And I was like, wow, this really actually was a lot of what he was doing was way off what I would have kind of expected. But I would have kind of eliminated myself from the running of that for a while, just through thinking, that I was like, oh, I wouldn't be able to write for that because it's unethical or whatever,
Yep. I had a lot of the same misgivings about going to work with Jeff, because he's technically in make money online biz ops space, which can be very scammy, can be very unethical. But the more research I did into Jeff, the more that I found that he would say, like, yes, you can do this launch and you can actually make money pretty quickly, but it's a lot of work and it's not easy. And there are going to be days where you're like, why the hell did I even go down this road? Entrepreneurship can be a very lonely feeling place. And it was because he balanced this, like, you can get these outsized results and you're going to have to work for it. There's no magic button. That I was like, okay, I'll give this guy a try. He seems like on the up and up. And then I would see people using his program, sometimes to like following it to the letter, but sometimes just taking it and making it their own and getting these outsized results in all these industries. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm totally cool with this. This thing freaking works. So yeah, I mean, if I think it's worth it, if something sounds interesting to you, to dedicate a little time to giving it a try.
Yeah.
Because the worst that happens is you discover, well, crap, I don't like that. That wasn't what I hoped for, but all right, let's cut this off in the best, like, let's stay friends way that I can possibly manage and move on to the next opportunity, because there's always another opportunity out there.
Yeah, but get the data, like you said, that's going to be my new motto. No, I think.
Get the data. That's, and that's interesting, because Kevin actually asked me to share something. So I'll spend the last 5 minutes sharing this little proposal. In case proposal generation is a thing that you struggle with, I had asked him for feedback on this one, and he was like, could you please share this on the coaching call? So there's your context there. I recently had somebody that he introduced me to that has had trouble hiring copywriters. And so he introduced them to me as an experienced copy chief and an experienced hirer. Like, I could come on board, help you set these things up, train your writer. And then basically my whole goal is to work myself out of it. I don't want to be your full-time chief. I want to be the expert that you call in to help your team find their own footing. And then you guys can go off and work on your own and do great things. So when I was talking to her, one of the big things that she kept mentioning was that she was very concerned with the budget. She didn't think that she could afford both a copy chief and a copywriter. And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I don't know what that means, because I don't know what her total monthly revenue is, and I don't know what her expenditures are, right? So I can't spend somebody else's money and decide what's too expensive for them. But what I can come up with is 3 to 4 different options that span a bunch of different budget levels, and let her pick what she's most comfortable spending. So, and then we talked about it, and this one didn't actually wind up going through, but she thought that this was good. So I gave her like a one-off, you bring your writer, you bring their work to me. I tell them what they need to fix. You and I go over it and make sure that it's in your voice, and it's just as needed. Super affordable, right? Then you could have me on retainer, where you get a certain number of calls per week, copy review. Like, the whole thing would be between you and your clients, or you and your copywriter, as to how to manage that. But I would come in and help fix the copy. Weekly copy review, and then a full, like, this would be basically a $24,000 build out, because it would require the full 90 days. but like I'm coming in and I'm doing a voice guide with you. I'm helping you figure out what went wrong with your hiring process before and how to attract the right person. I'm helping hire and screen, interview, and test these folks. I'm reviewing them over the course of probably 30 to 60 days and making sure that we're on track to hit all of our goals, blah, 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 blah. And I gave all these options to her. And then she came back and was like, can we like combine some elements from the big package with some elements from the little package and see what works? So this is just, I mean, I'm not saying that I did anything right or wrong here. This is actually based on Rachel's template proposal that's inside the accelerator group, if you ever have a question. But basically it was like, I hear you, you need someone that you trust who can write in the health space, that is comfortable coming up with ideas, that knows compliance because she struggled with compliance in the past. Need them to be a self-starter, but you also need to get them trained in a way where you feel comfortable just letting them run the show. So cool, I'm happy to help. Here are a couple ways that I think could help. You choose the best one. And then it wound up being like, I could tell based on the energy of her replies that like this was adding a little bit of overwhelm to her plate. And so I told her, you know, if we need to rearrange this, if we need to come up with some other options, I'm totally happy with that. I don't want this going into like I hope this works. I want us going in with like, yes, I'm going to solve this freaking problem energy. Because like one of those is actually going to help us get closer to solving this problem, and the other one is going to be counterproductive. And in the end, she decided like, it sounds like a lot of work to bring a writer on board. And I was like, ding, 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 ding. It's a lot of work to bring a writer on board. If you are super swamped right now with everything going on in your business, maybe now is not the time. I will tell you that it's never going to feel like the right time because it's a lot of work to bring on a writer, but this is an investment worth making, and definitely keep it on your radar if now is not the right time. And that was how I failed to get a proposal in greenlit, and am still in touch with this person to see what we could do in the future.
Oh. Okay.
So I don't know if that helps, but Kevin wanted me to share that. So hopefully that helps.
No,
yeah,
it's really interesting to see. I just use for my proposals, I've been using the EV template pretty much. But it's really helpful to see that.
Yeah, and all of those numbers are based on what I want to make for that work that I'm putting in. It has nothing to do with what I think she can afford, which is exactly why I came up with several options. Like I'm giving her options at a variety of different commitment levels for me. And now it's starting the conversation. It's not about winning the business necessarily. It's about starting the conversation and making sure that this is a win-win for both of us. And if she finds a package on there that she's like, hell yeah, this is the one, let's go, then that's the energy I want to start this project on. If she looks at that and goes, none of these are really fitting quite what I'm looking for, can we modify this? Then I go, okay, cool. Let's talk about what we need to do to modify this. So I think a lot of us, to go off on another seemingly unrelated rant, like we think about this in terms of winning business. I think about it in terms of finding the right fit, because when you find the right people, it becomes I don't know what we're going to work on together, but we need to work together because I like you type situation versus I need to convince them to pay me. And that's a hell of a lot easier way to do business than like continually prospecting and cold outreaching. If you've just got, couple handfuls of business buddies that you can go, hey, I got space for a client this month. Do you know anybody that needs help with emails? And they go, oh yeah, I got this great person. I'm going to introduce you. I love doing business that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so important to have that for sure.
All right, cool. We got any final questions before we wrap it up? I know I did a lot of ranting on this one.
Well, it's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that was super helpful. I got loads out of that. So thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, as always, if you need anything from me or any of the other coaches, tag me in the forum, send me a private message. Happy to help however I can. And we'll see you in there.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Angie. See you, Mary.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.